Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's live webinar. I'm your host, Dr. Shah Siddiqui, and we have a special episode today to talk about beyond borders smart strategies for global workforce management. And we have a very specific and special guest today to talk about it. You probably know him from my previous conversation with the ICP cast, and he works for Apria, and his name is Shiva Malhotra. And I will just introduce him with you. Um, Hello, Shivam. How are you today?
Hello, doing good, Dr. Shah. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So, thank you, Shivam, for coming to this episode of live webinar, as we're going to be talking about global workforce management. And I know that you're working for a long time. I know you nearly to more than 2 years now that
Yeah,
we recorded our first episodes, and it's been a great pleasure to know you and your work, and as well as understanding how you work with Aprio and all other global brands. So I just wanted to ask you, could you please introduce yourself, a little bit introduction about you, who you are, and your expertise in?
absolutely. Yep. So Shiva Malhotra, I am Aprio's Global Mobility Services Practice Leader. I have been working with Aprio over 2 years and been working in the field of global mobility for over 10 years now. I work a lot with companies who are looking to become global, whether they are looking to move into the US, so foreign companies looking to expand into the US, or US companies looking to expand their footprint outside of the country. I also work with the individuals on making sure that their tax filing obligations are handled no matter where they live and work, and making sure that everyone is compliant throughout this whole process. As expanding your work beyond the US and to different countries raises a lot of compliance obligations. And that's what me and my team at Aprio help manage and make sure that everything is done smoothly from day one.
Um, that's a great explanation, and thank you very much, Shivam, for coming to this live webinar. And viewers, I just wanted to mention you that Shivam is not in the UK; he's in the US, so it's very early in the morning. So probably you need a very big, a cup of coffee at the moment because.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely, yes. It's 7 a.m. over here.
Thank you. That's fantastic. The way you work, and as well as we're going to be discussing a lot of things. We will have a lot of viewers online, and we might have some questions from them. But to start with, global workforce development is not a new methodology. It's very old methodology, and in the era of technology as well as in AI, it's getting more popularities now. So there isn't any geographical boundaries nowadays for workforce. In that aspects, how important it is for companies to understand the global workforce management.
Super, super important. I mean, in today's day and age, it's all about becoming global. So expanding your borders, expanding your reach, helping your clients all over the world, helping your team members. It's just the way of work now. I think it has really picked up over the past 5 years with companies looking to expand themselves and go global. And it is something that I feel that companies that are looking to grow, it is an absolute necessity. Restricting yourself to one location or one country is not how you become successful anymore. It's making sure that you expand globally and have a global presence so you could provide services to clients all over the world. And I think while companies are doing that, it's very important to do it strategically and making sure that you're doing it compliantly. It's one thing wanting to expand and doing the expansion. It's another thing doing it right and making sure that you're compliant in all these other countries. Since I'm based in the US has a very different tax system than many different countries, both at the corporate and individual level. And I think that's something that we try to educate our clients who come to us that are looking to go global, is making sure that, it's not just the US rules that apply to you anymore, it's the global rules. It's the country that you're looking to expand into. And this is both at the corporate and individual level that people have to be very aware about. And we have seen cases in the past where companies have looked to go global, but they haven't done it correctly. And they have had some issues as they've made that expansion overseas.
Mhm.
But I think working with a company like us, working with myself, working with my team, we make sure you get off on the right foot and you are doing everything correct by the book, both in terms of legalities, tax, payroll, employment tax. There's a lot of different mechanisms as you're looking to expand, and I think making sure that you tackle each one properly is really important in your long-term success of your plan to go global.
That's a great explanation, and I have some related questions about that. You talk about compliance and legal consideration first, because in the US and the UK, they are probably in the first row when it comes about compliance and legal consideration. So, in relation to compliance and legal consideration, how businesses can think about that, because any businesses, they are working in the US or UK, they have to maintain that. If I give an example of like Microsoft, okay, they have US companies, they have UK companies, and they also have places all over the world. So in relation to that, how important it is to maintain the legal compliance and considerations of how they can manage it better.
Absolutely. Yes. So I think the legal compliance is probably the first step in making sure that all your registrations are done locally in that host country. And it's not going to always be a US advisor, like if that would be able to assist you with that. You need that local advisor in that country to make sure that they could assist you. And I think that's where we help our clients, is that we have reach throughout the world in helping these companies become global and making sure that they are able to do these things in these various jurisdictions. It's not just in the US, it's also, like you said, in the UK, and being able to partner with these other firms in these local jurisdictions and them explaining us these laws, right? Because the legalities that apply in the US might not apply in the UK, or they might be more stringent, or they might be different, right? So making sure that you understand these local jurisdiction legalities is very, very important in terms of making sure you're registered, you have all the correct stuff done up front, both at the corporate level and then again at the individual level. Because as you expand globally, your company is expanding, but you also need boots on the ground in those various jurisdictions. So making sure the immigration is done properly for these individuals so they don't run into any issues, making sure that they have the correct visas and they could work in these jurisdictions and help the company expand. It's all a cycle, that kicks off from the legal aspect, and then you go into more of the compliance and tax aspect. Making sure you get the first thing right is what helps you continue on to your path of being successful in becoming a global company. A company like Microsoft is so well developed, right? They have such a good footprint, and they're such a well-oiled machine that they've expanded to so many different countries, right? But they didn't start with all those countries at once, right? It was one by one by one. But they have such a sound footprint in these locations and such a sound internal team that makes sure that everything is being done properly in these locations.
That's a great explanation, and I will come back to more regarding compliance and all other things. You know that compliance, we talk about big companies, they have lots of money to invest in any place they would go. Now we have seen that Trump administrative legislation for higher income and adding more value and adding more money towards their ports, they have implemented a lot of things. So companies like lower income threshold, they cannot bring people to the US because they have to pay hundred thousands of US dollars. In that aspects, I think this global footprint of working abroad and creating the contribution from a place, they don't need to come to UK. How it is functioning in the US right now? Is it functioning speedy, or it is just like they are not thinking about that?
Yeah, yes. So I mean, with the new administration, and I don't want to get too much into politics,
Yes.
but with the new administration, a lot of things have changed on the immigration front, and things have really tightened up at the borders, right, compared to the prior administration, as well as the increase in fees, right, to get visas to come to the U.S. and excuse me, and work in the U.S. Totally different from prior administrations.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely don't think it's speeding up. I think it's becoming more rigorous now to come to the US, and it's also becoming a lot more expensive. This new administration likes to grow their talent within the US, and they were and giving jobs to, foreign nationals coming into the US is not as much of a priority as it was in the past. It's really about growing that homegrown talent here in the country, which is great as well, right? It's totally good. But I think it also opens up the flip side of things where US individuals go abroad now and they look for jobs and they look for assignments overseas, more so than, foreign nationals coming into the US. So I think it has changed its trajectory a little bit. But again, administrations always change, immigration policies change. So again, you're going to see another change, coming up with the next administration after this one.
So yeah, so in these aspects, is it an opportunity or is it a threat for global workforce management companies?
So I think it's an opportunity. I still think it's an opportunity, but it might not be an opportunity per se in the US at this point, just because of how difficult and expensive it's getting to come into the US. But it's definitely an opportunity to expand outside of the US and companies to go to various different locations outside of the country now, and expand their global footprint. And I think also with remote work, a lot of people want to be working in different jurisdictions. They want to be traveling. They want to be digital nomads. They want to work from all different areas. And I think companies have realized that over the past 5 years or so, that employees feel that they're more empowered now and they want to go to different locations and start working there and exploring different countries and, maybe relocating there. So I think that has also pushed companies to, become more global and be more open to that, because it supports their employees. And then at the end, it supports their global footprint and their expansion overseas.
That's a great answer, Shivam. Thank you very much. So thank you, everyone. You are watching live with me, 𝐒𝐚𝐡 Marketing and Sales Funnel Accelerator. We do live events time to time. We used to do a lot of live events last few years. Now we are very much limited to people that we bring, and as well as subject we will discuss. So we have people from Dubai, India, and South Africa. So thank you, everyone, for your participations and listening to us. We're going to be discussing more about global workforce management, because myself, I work in the UK. I also work in various other countries, consultancy and all other things that we do to train people in the workplace. So we're going to be talking more about that in next segments. So thank you, everyone. And if you have any question, feel free to ask me or Shivam if you have any specific questions, and we will go from there. So few things. I think we lost Shivam's camera. Okay, he's back again. So when we talk about global workforce management, like you will have a head office and you will have branch offices in many other locations. First thing is the cultural barriers and communication drawbacks. How do you imply your methodology to overcome those? Because people, they never been to the UK. It's difficult for them to understand UK culture, or in the US is similar as well, in other countries as well. What are the drawbacks or barriers, cultural barriers in aligned team in places?
Yep. So I wouldn't say it's a drawback. I would say it's more of an opportunity to become more culturally diverse in these locations. As you mentioned, every country has different culture, has different beliefs, different ways of operating, right? Especially in terms of work. So I wouldn't say it's a barrier. I think it gives individuals more of an opportunity to see what's going on a global basis and how things operate outside of their home country. And being able to adjust to that and being open to that will actually bring you longer term success, I feel, because being able to, when you work with clients, right, you might not just work with clients in your home country, you're going to work with clients all over the world. So being able to adjust and learn about these different cultures in these various locations really helps you connect with your clients, because you're able to sit in their shoes basically in that country. So I think it helps you in terms of your conversation and your development of people in these various locations. And it builds a different set of skills that you had just within your home country. You're really able to build your skills on a global level and interact with people all over the world, and do it in a way that makes them happy and really increases your knowledge of these locations. Because to be successful in all these countries, as you mentioned, you have to be able to adapt to these cultures, and you have to be open to it. right?
Mhm.
What worked for you in the US or what worked for you in the UK might not work for you in India or Dubai, right? They might operate totally differently. And for example, you could just say like I would say the work-life balance, right? In the US, it's all about work, right? We
Mhm.
always working, even when we're on vacation, we're working, we're checking our phones. What I've seen with my clients, a lot of times in European countries, it's totally different, right? When they disconnect, absolutely disconnect, right? They are taking their
Mhm.
vacation, they're not checking emails. And I think that really opens people's eyes here in the US, right? That a vacation is a real vacation, right? In some of these countries compared to the US, when you're taking a vacation, but you're still answering an email the next day, right? Or you're getting back to clients or you're hopping on a call. So I think learning this culture in these different countries is very important for you to be successful and for your company to be successful.
Mhm. That's a great explanation, Shivam. Thank you very much. And viewers, thank you for watching this live webinar. As you know, that we are broadcasting a few channels in LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as YouTube. So please, if you are unable to see our live on LinkedIn, please go to Facebook or YouTube. You will see the link, and this will be also recorded as a replay, so you can replay these conversations. And if you wanted to signpost these events to any of your contacts, feel free to do so. And you can get Shivam details from his LinkedIn account, so she can be reached through LinkedIn. Or if you have any specific questions, please feel free to ask me or Shivam through the comment box. So we're gonna move into specifically talk about tax and immigration framework. If when you work in such a country, UK or US, or in EU, I would say they are probably thinking about tax framework and other things. Every businesses, they wanted to save tax. So in relation to that, how complicated these workforce force management system? Like if I have a office in the US, I have an office in the UK, or I wanted to hire workforce in India and Bangladesh. So I will fall into few more categories. Like I need to manage tax on US, UK, India, Dubai, Bangladesh, Africa, or any other countries. So how do we, a company, tailor this methodology?
First thing is reach out to me, right? We will make things a lot easier for you. But it is, I mean, to be completely transparent, it does take a lot of time, right? And it takes a lot of effort and it is a lot of work, right? Getting set up in a
Yeah.
different country. For example, you're going to a new country, say you're only based in the US. First thing you have to do is, are you looking to set up an entity overseas? Are you looking to expand, make a branch of your US company? And
Mhm.
that involves registrations, that involves corporate tax, that involves payroll tax, that involves employment tax, a host country social security system. There's so many different aspects that come into play, and making sure that you're educated about all these various things is very, very important. That's when you have to lean on a trusted advisor like Aprio and my team, right? Where we will make sure that you are doing things properly from day one. You
Mhm.
don't want to go to a country and start expanding when you don't have everything in order, right? Because then you're going to run into tax issues within that country, and that's going to take away a lot of your time and productivity for
Mhm.
things that you could be actually focusing on in terms of the actual expansion and growth of your business. So making sure that your registrations are done, your entity setup is done, your payroll is running properly, your taxes are being filed as they should be filed, and making sure it's done on a global basis, right? Because now that you've expanded overseas, it's not just your US taxes that make a difference, it's your global taxes that make a difference. So you have to make sure that you're filing at a global level. And that will impact your US taxes, that'll impact your home country taxes. It's all interconnected the way it's done. But making sure that you do it properly is what's important, and making sure you have a trusted advisor is really important because they will guide you and make sure that you're doing everything done, because you don't know what you don't know, right? You're
Mhm.
going into these countries, you don't know what's going on, you don't know what you have to do. All you know is you want to expand and you want to grow your business. But working with the team that helps you and enables you to do that is very, very important.
Thank you very much, Shivam. So I'm just going to show you the users and their messages. So from Dubai, we don't have the Dubai user's name. So it's hello from Dubai. Someone from Isha Misra from India, as well as uh, one user from South Africa. And then we have Isha Misra again talking about. Thank you, sir, for this great live and a beautiful explanation. Thank you, everyone, uh, uh, for your contribution. And if you have any question, a specific question, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll continue our normal conversation. So we talk about tax, we talk about all other legislation and different things. Aligning mobility with business objectives. Because first of all, if you wanted to hire a remote worker, you have to have your business objectives. How the first thing, what I have seen so far working with various companies, they wanted to lower their cost. That's the first priority. And when they think about lower their cost from USA or Europe or UK, they think about going to other subcontinent, specifically. In that way, how important to align your objectives to hire specific people in different country?
Extremely, extremely important, right? You have to have a reason for why you're expanding and why you're doing things, right? And it could be, cutting costs, right? Getting cheaper labor in a different country. That, offshoring is a very, very popular thing in today's day and age, right? Where you're looking to lower cost countries and lower cost of talent in these countries. So I think that is super important, and it should be, if that's one of your objectives, that should be known from the front, right? That's one of the reasons for your expansion is your offshoring and lowering your internal costs. But you also want to make sure you get the right talent in that location, right? Finding talent could be a problem at times, right? And just expanding to a lower cost country where they might not have the specific talent you're looking for could actually increase your costs, right? Because even if you're going to a lower cost country, but you're not getting the talent that you need and the workforce that you need, it might just be an actual waste of your time at times, or you're not getting the productivity that you would have gotten in a different country or even your home country. So making sure that, your business goals align with the actual location that you're going into and doing your due diligence up front and working again with a good advisor who could help you in all these aspects is super, super important, right? Because going to a new country is, again, unknown territory. Now, finding talent in that country, again, is going to be something that's totally different. And how you recruit and hire that talent, as we talked about, is going to be different just based on cultural differences in different locations, right? The way we recruit and hire in the US might be totally different than what they do in, say, the Philippines, right? It could be very, very different in terms of how we operate and how we do things, and making sure that you're aware of that and doing it properly and getting the right talent that supports your business and expansion is extremely, extremely important.
Yes, I can relate what you're saying. That I have known many companies in the UK and in the US. Sometimes they hire very, very cheap laborers, and there are struggles as well, because I have seen people, they spend a lot of money, but at the end they are not getting what they are looking for. So it's just like catch 22 situation. Like, you wanted to save some money, and then you take a decision, and then you go to a foreign country and you don't get the thing you are looking for. So it's become a mess. Okay, so how companies, as your previous conversation, how companies will align their policies or working for remote or hybrid teams within these methodologies?
Yeah, so I think you brought it up right there, is having a policy in place, right? Is making sure that you have a clear and direct policy that could be referred to in these various locations and where you're looking to expand into. Without having that in place, right, you're really just operating off of nothing, right? Making sure that you have a clear and direct policy in place and what you're looking for in these locations is super, super important as you look to expand, right? And a lot of times, like we talked about in the beginning, people expand just to expand without a reason or without a clear objective for these expansions, right? But making sure that you're very clear on each aspect of your expansion, including talent management and workforce management, and finding that talent is very, very important. And making sure you have that talent in place before you actually start operations in these foreign countries is extremely important. What I've seen sometimes is companies expand, right? But they actually, what you mentioned, they don't have that talent in that location, right? Where they could successfully succeed, right? But they've expanded to a country, but now you haven't secured the talent to actually do the work and do your expansion efforts, which is the most important part, right? Is you need good people to do good work, right? And a lot of times cheap labor might not be talented labor, right? Not saying it can't be, right? I mean, you could find cheap labor that could be also talented labor, but sometimes it isn't like that. But making sure you're doing your due diligence and finding that talent up front is extremely, extremely important. And as you brought up remote work is so popular these days, right?
Mhm.
With every company, I think most companies have some type of hybrid or remote work policy in place,
Mhm.
right? And that helps you secure talent all over the world because you're able to access that talent remotely, right? But making sure your company can handle that talent and onboard that talent and help that talent succeed is very, very important, right? So you have to have trainings in place where you could train people, remotely, and making sure that they could do the job that you're looking for them to do from day one, right? And help your business grow.
That's a very important question that you raise, because when hiring talent from remote places, how important it is for any businesses, UK or USA, to train up those employees for their business goals, or understanding their business, or understanding their culture as well. Because if I hire someone in India or in South Africa or any other places, I think it is very much important to get a talent, because there are talented people everywhere in these countries. But talent and understanding your culture, understanding the market you're going to be serving, is totally different, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Totally, totally different. And as you mentioned, right, training up that talent is so important, right? Just hiring someone is great, but following through and training them and getting them to do the job that's expected of them to do is very, very important, right? And they can't do it unless they get the proper training, right? So it is your job as the employer to make sure that you're training your talent worldwide, right? And training them to a point where they could be successful, right? Because just as you want the business to grow, these individuals want to grow also within their career, and they want to be successful as well. And I think it goes hand in hand. If they're
Mhm.
successful, your business will be successful. If they're not successful, the business won't be successful. So it's very important to invest in your talent and making sure that you train them and get them to do the work that you need them to do to be successful.
That's a great explanation, Shibam. And I have seen these gaps everywhere, because when people wanted to cut their cost, and the thing that they wanted to cut their cost, but they don't think about a proper methodology. So when you do not have a proper methodology, is a problem, because you have to have a proper methodology. How you onboard a global talent within your team, and how you train up them, because they are not they are not doing in-person offices in the country that you operate, but they may be doing in-person offices in their country, and their culture and their situation, their training, their understanding, totally different. Recently, I'm working with a Bangladeshi pharmaceuticals company, and we're working quite a bit of work to understand the workforce, as well as managing them and training them to the specific levels for global workforce. So in that way, I think it is core for anyone to give them the knowledge of the workplace they're going to be working, either US, either UK. You don't need to give understanding of every places, because it's going to be time consuming, and it's going to be lengthy, because a person will go through with a trial and error basis to learn each of the places. So if you can train them, and then you will get most out of their talent, otherwise it's not. So thank you, Shivam, and thank you everyone for joining today's live webinar. We are talking today smart strategies for global workforce management, and you are watching this live webinar at the 𝐒𝐚𝐡 Marketing Agency and Sales Funnel Accelerator. And we have Shiva Malhotra with us. He's a partner, Global Mobility Service Practice Leader. So we're going to jump into our next conversation. So if you have any question, viewers, please feel free to answer us. Feel free to add the question on the comment box, and we will try to answer those questions for you. Now, as we discuss a lot of different things, and the technology is evolving. And in this evolving technology, I think it's lots of hundreds of different type of tools, AI creating another layer of complicacy, and as well as solutions. So in that scenario, adding a team and then aligning current tools and technologies to streamline the operation, how important it is for the business, or as a consultant like you, to understand aligning tools for the global workforce management?
No, it's imperative, right? It's very, very imperative to make sure that you have the right tools in place as you expand. As you mentioned, there's so much technology out there these days, especially with AI, that it could really simplify your operations and make things a lot easier as you're looking to expand and as you're looking to, do work in these various locations. One thing I think that's very important is cybersecurity, right? As you're looking to expand, it's making sure that you're doing it in a secure way and your company is not exposed to any, cyber threats within these various countries, right? Each country has its own threats, right? And as you're looking to go into these countries, it's very important to tackle these issues, right? Because some of the threats that might be prevalent in the US will be totally different in the UK, right? And there's different things going on over there. So making sure your systems are secure and you have the right systems in place to securely do this work overseas is very, very important, both for you as the company, for your clients, right, because of all the data that you're carrying, and your employees, right, making sure that everything is very securely done and you have the right tools in place to do this, right? Doing some compliance work is great, right, but making sure you're doing it securely is even more important, right? You don't want to run into any data privacy issues, any cybersecurity issues. You don't want to make headlines for these kind of things, right? And we've seen it over the past, over years, right? Where there's been data security leaks, where there's been cybersecurity issues, and that's just bad publicity that companies don't want, right? So as you're looking to make these expansions, it's very important to have these tools in place. And sometimes, no matter what you do, you're still going to be exposed to it, right? Some of these issues will still come up, but making sure that you're doing the best possible things and that you're aware of it is very, very important to have a successful launch overseas. And I think companies need to be aware of this and they have to, it's an investment that they have to make within these tools, right? You have to invest in your security, you have to invest in your privacy. It is things that you have to do, and it is a cost that should be taken into account as you're looking to expand, right? We talked about talent, how you have to find the right talent and making sure that that talent is successful by training them. But you also have to make sure your systems are secure as you're going overseas and you're crossing borders. And different countries, again, have different protocols, and learning these things is very, very important.
I totally agree with you what you said, Shivam. You probably heard about the Jaguar Land Rover in the UK. So they were off for 4 or 5 months, and they I think lost billions of pounds, and they spent hundreds of millions of pounds to fix what they have done. To fix their network issues. So I think there is a common understanding or common practice there. Don't worry about that. We will worry about the security later. So I have seen that businesses, they add any tools, cheap tools, okay, and they don't think that they have to have a compliance in place. Like, okay, what type of tools you want to embed? One thing. Are these tools secure for your business? Because if you're a business in the UK or US and you're thinking for global expansion, that means your security is very much need to be tightened, because without having a proper security, anything can happen. I have seen companies in Bangladesh, in India, and any other places that mostly with just one attack, their entire system is down. They could spend like little bit of money towards it and could have prevented those situations, but it didn't happen. So thank you, Shibam, for your great answer. So we have one question from Isha Misra. So he asked, the question is there: I'm an IT student aspiring to build a career in HR and management. From your experience, what practical skills or habits should students start developing now to succeed in people management roles? I think we're going to be talking about HR and team management as well in our next conversation. But if you have any question to any answer to Isha Mistra's question.
Yep. So let me just look at the question again. Yeah, so I think in people management roles, right, and you being an IT student and building a career, I think it's very important to ask the right questions and be willing to learn from day one. As you begin your career, you have to be very curious about a lot of different things, and you can't be shy about it, right? You have to ask the right questions because when you're starting out your career, you really don't know what you're getting into, and asking the right questions, finding the right mentors, working with the right people helps you build your career longer term, right? You need to keep learning and learning and learning, especially early on in your career, so you could get into those, management roles, right? You're not going to go straight from a student, to becoming a manager at a company, right? You have to build your own footprint, and it takes time and it takes a lot of knowledge, right? So being curious and being open to learning is extremely, extremely important. And I always say this, right? Once you get out of college, right, your learning doesn't stop, right? People think you're out of college, you're done with studying this and that, but when you start working again, it's a totally different type of learning that you're having, right, and a totally different type of tasks that you're taking on, but your learning still continues. So even once you're done with college and you're done being a student, you're still a student, but now you're a student at work. So and being open to that and being curious about that is very, very important as you build your longer term career.
Thank you, Shivam. Thank you very much, Isha Misra, for your question. And if any of the viewers want to ask us question, feel free to add them on the comment box on specific social media. So, we talk about in relation with the Isha's questions, HR administration. How important is it to align your HR to your global workforce management? Because it's a added cost. If you have a HR in the US, you need to hire a team in India or in South Africa or any other places. You also need to have a HR there. So how important to align companies' HR and policies to maintain the same standard?
It's super, super important, right? And again, it's a cost that has to be undertaken, and it's a cost that the company should account for, because HR is extremely, extremely important, right? Whether it's here in the US or it's in the UK or in India. But again, the policies are different in all these different locations, and making sure that you have the right people within these jurisdictions,
Mhm.
that you're following these laws and regulations within these local countries is extremely, extremely important. Some of the policies in human resources that apply in the US will be totally different than that they are in the UK and in India, right? And having that local talent and that expert talent in place advising you as the company is expanding is very, very important, right? And making that investment in the people is extremely important as well. Because as you're looking to expand and go into these countries, again, you don't know all the rules and regulations, and you have to lean on that talent within that country, which guides you to make sure you don't do anything wrong from an HR perspective, right?
Mhm.
You don't want an HR issue. You don't want that kind of publicity. So making sure you're doing it properly and you have the right talent in place is extremely, extremely important. And investing in that talent again, once again, training that talent and making sure that they are guiding you as you're growing your business. Very, very important.
Thank you, Shiva. We got another question from Isa, and he asked, "How can students build leadership and people management skills before entering corporate roles?" Um, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yes. So you could bring that question right back up. Yeah, so I think it's the soft skills. I think the soft skills are extremely, extremely important as you're building people management skills, right? How you work with your colleagues, how you work with other people, right, is extremely important. And it's something that you develop on a daily basis, right? And the more and more you get into your career and the more experience you have, the easier it becomes, right? Being able to build those soft skills, being able to talk to your coworkers, talk to your peers, have those difficult conversations, because not every conversation is going to be rosy. You're going to have some times where things get difficult and they get uncomfortable, they get awkward, but you have to be able to manage that from an HR perspective, from a people management perspective. And I think it's something that you gain with experience. It's not something that could be taught
Mhm.
overnight. It's something that as you develop yourself, as you develop your personal brand, as you develop your character at work, it's something that you will build. And everyone's people skills are totally different. Like Dr. Shah, yours and mine will be totally different, right? But we
Mhm.
still know how to operate within our own business, right? And we still know how to work with different people. But the way we do it is going to be totally different. And I
Mhm.
think that's totally okay, and it's the way it should be.
I totally agree with you, Shivam. And to Isa, there is a methodology for anything. When you start the journey of you, I would say the world journey from a student to become an entrepreneur or become an employee, you have to have that journey started. So you are a student. So you probably know in the UK, I know that you can engage with various type of student projects or student counseling or student a lot of student things are happening in the USA and in UK, that you can engage with different type of projects, and you can get your skills developed with leadership skills and people management skills as well, because it's possible to do that. Another thing that you can do to engage with internship, like, okay, there will be a lot of people, a lot of organization there you can go and shadow what you wanted to do, because businesses like us and businesses a lot of, and all mainstream businesses as well, they will want some people to do internship over there. So if you particularly apply for management or leadership thing as a HR, you can go over there and learn from them, because as Shivam told, this is a true fact that you cannot learn things if you don't engage. You have to engage. You have to engage with a business. We have to engage with people to develop these skills. These skills will not automatically grow. You might have this tendency, you might have talent, but this talent will only be fulfilled when you are in practical task and practical workplace. And that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you go to university, you take courses and all those things, that will give you knowledge about the settings, but practical things is different. So thank you, Isha. And if you have any more questions, feel free to ask us. I'm just going to jump into my next questions, and we're going to be ending this episode in 45 minutes. So we have a few more minutes to talk about. My last questions is that, okay, we understand it's an opportunity for global workforce management. We understand we need to align technologies, we need to align policies, and we need to align all those things. What's the biggest risk managing global workforce?
Biggest risk is not knowing what you're getting into and not being prepared for the worst, I think, right? As you expand your talent overseas, as you expand your company overseas, right? It sounds great, right? And it is great, right? But being prepared for it not being done the way you expect it to, and being able to pivot during that process is very, very important, right? Um, as you expand overseas, it's like we said, it's such unknown territory that you're getting into, right? And being able to adjust on the fly to different things within these local jurisdictions is very, very important, right? You have to be agile, you have to be mobile, right? You have to be open to different things now that your company is taking on a different location and they have expanded globally, right? You might have everything done properly, but something could come up, right? And you have to be prepared for that, and it's okay, right? If things come up, you have to have backup plans, or you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to, adjust on the fly, because it is something totally different that the company is taking on, and it's something totally different that the employees are doing now, right? As they're expanding the business. So being flexible with that is very, very important, and being able to, like I said, adjust on the fly is very, very important. We all hope that things go absolutely perfect and 100% to as planned. But as we all know, in reality, that's never the case, right? You're always going to have things pop up and things that you have to adjust to. And being flexible in that aspect is very, very important. And I think that stems a lot from leadership, right? They have to trust you, and they have to also be able to be flexible, right? No matter what you have put in place, whatever you have written down, again, you have to be able to adjust as things change, right? A global environment, a global workforce is so different than just a domestic workforce, right? And you have to realize that as you're expanding, right, that things are going to be different. Sometimes things are going to get uncomfortable, and sometimes things are going to go wrong, right? But being able to rectify the issues and adjust to them on the fly, and being okay with that is very, very important, right? Setting that culture, right? That, if we make a mistake or something goes wrong, we will fix it, we will do better, we'll learn from it. And as we go into a different country, we hope it doesn't happen there, right? Because every failure should be a learning experience, right? It should not be a deterrent for something that you're looking to succeed on in the future. If you learn from your failures, you're only going to get stronger, and hopefully you won't make the same mistakes again. But again, mistakes happen all the time, right? I still make mistakes as a partner, right? But again, I still learn from them. So as you progress your career, as companies expand, it's very, very important to continuously learn. And I think Isha, she had brought that up, right? Is what should she do early on in her career, right? And we had said, learn. Just like her, we still are learning, right? Every day is a learning experience. And as you're expanding globally, it's a very, very big learning experience. And taking that all into account for your next planned expansion is very, very important, right? What you learn from one expansion to the next expansion is very important as you continue to scale your business.
Thank you, Shivam. And as you know, it's all about working with expert people. That's why you have your developed your career to support global expansion. I understand that some people wanted to cut their costs down and they do trial and error, but doing a trial error has some greater risk, as we discussed all over this episode of our live webinar. That yes, if you want, you can do trial and error. It doesn't matter. But if you wanted to have less trial and error, then you have Shivam, you have other people, you have me, you have a lot of consultant around the globe. You can work with them and have less trial and error, and that will give you the greatest strength and as well as a great way to expand your team to globally. So thank you everyone for joining today's live webinar. We have a lot of questions, but we cannot answer those because we are nearly end of our session. I just wanted to ask Shivam, you last thinking for the audience, how they can contact you, or if you wanted to say anything to them.
Yeah. So again, I just want to thank everyone for joining. Right, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Shah. Again, like we said, we've known each other for over 2 years, and every time we do these kind of things, I really, really enjoy the candid conversation. And I really want to thank the viewers for your questions, your time, engaging with us. I think it's super, super nice, and it makes the conversation go a lot easier. But to get in touch with me, my LinkedIn is available. You could always shoot me a message on there. I'm on my company's website, aprio.com. You just look up Shiva Malhotra, you will find me. Reach out to me for any questions, any guidance that you need. We're always helping companies expand. We're always, managing their global workforce for them, making sure they're doing things properly from a compliance perspective, from a legal perspective, immigration perspective, making sure that as they expand, we're helping them, right? We're their trusted advisors. And my team is specifically focused on international work. We will help the company, we will help the individual. So if you're looking to expand, definitely get in touch with me either through LinkedIn or through my company's website. Would be happy to speak with you. And if there's any questions that you have on a personal level, right, like Isha had, right, feel free to reach out to me, right? I've had great mentors, I've had great people throughout my career, and I just want to pay it forward as well. I think it is very, very important as we develop the next level of talent. They have the right mentors in place, and they have the right people that they could go to, and we could guide them. So definitely reach out to me for whatever you need. If I can't help you, I'll find someone who can help you. And I'm always open to a conversation. It's always great meeting new people. I've worked in different countries throughout my career, and I've learned so many different cultures by being in different countries. And I continuously learn on a day-to-day basis. Learning from you, Dr. Shah, always, when we speak and getting your perspective on things is very, very insightful to me, right? And I do take it back with me. It's something that I do, try to learn about, improve myself on. So again, it's been a total pleasure speaking with everyone. And feel free to reach out whenever you'd like to.
Thank you, Shivam, and thank you everyone for joining today's live webinar. So we're going to be bringing Shivam to another episode. We will plan that now, and maybe in 2 months' time, we will bring another episode how you can build a stronger team and work globally. So until then, please stay tuned, support our channels in LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and all other medias. We are here to share knowledge. We are here to support you. If you have a specific question, feel free to answer me. Otherwise, thank you very much, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.